I hope you guys can see my screen. Just please confirm. Cool. So we shall start now. So today's session is about ColdFusion Builder extension for VS Code. Firstly, let me introduce myself. So I am Nikhil from ColdFusion engineering team. I have been working with the same team for close to 6.5 years for now. Over the years, I have made various contributions to all the offerings of the team, like ColdFusion Builder, ColdFusion Server, PMT, that is Performance Monitoring Toolset. We built this during the 2018 release. In the last release, that is 2021, I got a chance to work on integration of various cloud services like AWS, SQS, SNS, Azure Service Bus, and all. And also I got to work on some of the language features like parallel programming, ifs, and dynamic cases and switch case statements. So all those features. Post 2021 release, I got involved in working for the VS Code extension that we just released some 3 months back, I think, in the market, and that is already having some 2500 downloads, so that is also going well. So apart from work, I love reading. I read mainly technical stuff, and I also follow sports and politics. So that is about me. Before we actually take a deeper dive into the presentation, let's look at why we built on VS Code. So Adobe has been having a product called as ColdFusion Builder for long. I think it's almost a decade long, but still we chose to build on VS Code. So the reason, so let's look at why. So first thing is fast. So our developers have already always been complaining about the CF Builder startup time being high. So VS Code being lightweight solves this issue. Then it is easy and intuitive to use. It comes with a lot of flexibility with themes and shortcuts. And apart from that, being open source, it continues to evolve fast. And it comes with a universe of extensions that you can pick and choose about whatever extension that suits your needs on the VS Code marketplace. So all these things uh, motivated us to build on the VS Code. Moving to the features, it has all the features that you would expect in a full-fledged IDE. So so basically for the purpose of this presentation, we have divided these features into two buckets. First is editor based features, which will basically help you when you are trying to write some new code or modifying the existing one. So features like code assist, diagnostics, quick fix, uh, code folding, formatting, so all these features help in that sense. The second bucket is about productivity. So it helps you increase your productivity as CFML developer. So the features like project manager, server manager, then security analyzer, all these features help increase your productivity. Okay, so before we take a deeper dive into the features that we just saw, let us discuss a little bit about how it works internally. So traditionally, the editors have been a single process thing, wherein the engine that processes your code and the component which interacts with you both are baked in a single process. But the VS Code takes a different route. It has a decoupled client server architecture, and any extension that is built for VS Code also needs to follow the same architecture. So yeah, even our extension will do so. So it has a language client that is built in TypeScript and a language server that is built in Java. So it looks something like this. We have a language client running in Node environment, language server running in Java environment, and there is a ColdFusion server in a separate process altogether. Okay, so most of the features, language client and language server will interact using a protocol called as language server protocol or LSP. That is an open source protocol. So most of the features will use this communication, and for rest of the features we use different protocol for language client and ColdFusion server communication, that is called as remote development support RDS protocol. That is an HTTP based protocol, and it is specific to ColdFusion. It's not an open source thing. So we'll see. So the feature matrix looks something like this. So for most of the features, the document and workspace related features like code assist, refactoring, diagnostics, navigation. So for all these features, uh, LSP or language server protocol is being used. And for debugger, there is a separate protocol DAP, that is debugger adapter protocol. And for rest of the features like RDS, file view, data view, we'll see those features. So for there is a separate protocol RDS, that is remote development support, that is specific to ColdFusion. And in order to use this extension, you will need a VS Code installation version 1.68 or above, and Java installation would also be needed for language server with version 1.8 or above. So with that, we'll move to the features, and in the first bucket, the first feature in the list is code assist. So this is about giving you completion proposals with respect to the current context of your cursor location and the characters that you might have typed in. So here in the example, you can see we have typed characters angular bracket, then characters C and F. And it is able to fetch me the list of all the tags available along with a small description of each of the tag. And if I choose any of the tag, then it will insert the remaining text in the same place. So the shortcut is Control plus space on Windows, Command plus space on Mac, and it is supported for three additional languages along with the CFML. So the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS are also supported, because many a times we see that the code in these languages is also baked in the same document. So that is why we chose to support this for all four. However, for ColdFusion, we try to dig deeper and cover more scenarios for this. So let us see those scenarios. So basically, we try to bring all the tags, attribute, values available in your suggestions. Then you try to insert the required attributes automatically. And if you're calling the methods, whether you are calling built-in methods in the ColdFusion or you are defining your own methods in the same file, they will be coming in your suggestions. Then if you are trying to call the methods on typed variables like array.sum or struct.filter, so all those methods will also be coming in your suggestions. Then if you're trying to invoke methods on a CFC object, then the methods from that particular CFC or any of its parents will also be coming in the suggestions. Similarly, if you're trying to include a CFM in a page, then the functions, variables, tags, queries, all those things will also be coming in the same page. Finally, if you're trying to write a query in a CF query tag and you had added a data source in your ColdFusion administrator, so in that case, the tables from that particular data source will also be coming when you are trying to write a query. So the idea overall here is to present with you more and more information so that it becomes easier for you to write any new code. In some cases, that information might be coming from the same page. In other cases, it might be coming from a different CFC or a different CFM. And in others, it might also be coming from the ColdFusion server. So that is about code assist. We will move on to the next feature, which is code navigation. So this is about navigating seamlessly across your code base. This is done using commands. And in VS Code, if you want to see what all commands are available, you just need to press Ctrl Shift P and you will open a command palette wherein you can see all the commands available for you. So here you can see there are commands like go to next member, previous member, go to next attribute, previous attributes. So all these commands have been contributed by VS Code CFML extension. So let us see these commands. First one is about jumping to the next or previous function defined in the same file. Though the shortcuts are also listed. So if I am in a function, wherever I am, maybe I am in the beginning of the function or towards the end or anywhere in between, and I want to move to the function that is defined next to the current. So I'll just press Ctrl Shift E and I get to the next function that is defined. Similarly, for previous function or even it works for properties also in case of CF component. You can navigate across them. Then the next command is about next or previous attribute. So in the screenshot, you can see I am in currently name attribute. And if I want to move to the next attribute, I will just invoke this command and the cursor and the current selection will move to the next attribute. Shortcuts are also listed. And similarly for previous attribute you can do. Next command is about moving to the end of the tag or a block. So many a times your tag body or code block, let's say CFF or switch case block or even in a CF script block can become hundreds of lines of code. And in that case, it might become difficult for you to scroll and find the end of the tag or block. So in that case, what you can do is just invoke the Control Alt V command and it will take your cursor towards the end of the tag or block. So it can come in handy in those kind of situations. Similarly, the next command is about moving to the not moving, it is about selecting a particular tag or a block of code. So sometimes you want to do a quick copy or a delete operation. Okay, so in those cases it can come in handy. So here I am in function test2 and I invoke the command, so it selects the entire function test2 body for me. And if I invoke the command again, it will select the entire CF script block for me. So this command works recursively as well. And once it selects, I can do quick cut or copy or delete or whatever I need with this. So that is about code navigation. Then the next feature is about go to definition. So this one is about moving from invocation point of a function or a CFC to its definitions. So from invocation to definition, and the shortcuts are Control plus click on Windows, Command plus click on Mac. Okay, so we'll see it working through some examples. So here I am having two functions, test and test2 at line number 4 and line number 7, and I'm calling function test at line number 10, as you can see. Now I will see that whether I can move to a test method. So yeah, I could move to this definition from line number 10 directly. Now let me call test2 method here. I'll just type and pass the parameters and let us see whether I can move to line number 7 directly. So here I was able to move to so. So this is how you do for the functions that are defined in the same file. Okay, now we'll see when the CFC is there and you want to move to the definition of that particular CFC or a function in a different file. So here I am having a 1.cfm and I'm trying to invoke a method get last trade price from code1.cfc. And if I want to see where this code1.cfc is defined, I would just invoke this command, and here you will see I'm able to move to the beginning of the CFC that is defined in the app1.nasdaq directory structure, and it is also having the function get last trade price. Okay, now if I move back to 1.cfm, and instead of the beginning of the CFC, I want to move to the definition of the function directly. So I'll just invoke the same command on the method, and it moves to line number 3 instead of the beginning of CFC. So this is how you work with functions that are defined in a different file. So that is about navigation. Now we'll move to the next feature in the bucket, which is code formatting. So as is clear by the name, it will help you convert your messy and inconsistent ColdFusion code to formatted piece of code. And we support all 4 languages for this, and you can run it on entire document or just a selected piece of code only. So that is formatting. We shall see some examples here. That's for the CFML. You can see here I'm trying to use a CF invoke, but the CF invoke is having lot of tabs and spaces, and it is not easily readable what it is written. So now if I run formatting on this, it will turn into something like this with proper indentation and much more readable. Similarly, for JavaScript, you see that I am having an example which is having very few tabs and spaces. Now, if I run formatting on this, it will turn something like this, which is again much more readable. So it has inserted some spaces and tabs and made it much more cleaner. So this is how formatting works. We'll now move to the next feature, which is a very important one in this particular bucket, which is diagnostics. This is a clear differentiator. So this is about having the errors and warnings in your code. So whenever you type in some CFML code, it will be basically parsed into a tree-like structure in order to validate that whether the code you are writing that is correct as per the rules of ColdFusion grammar, or is it invalid. So in order to use this feature, you will need to go to the preferences under the syntax checking tab and enable that functionality. Once you do so, you will be able to use the feature, and you will be getting all the problems in the open files, and they will be categorized based on the file, and along with each of the problem you will be getting a short message, along with that the line and column number where exactly that particular problem is. And if you click on any of that problem, you will be taken to that particular line and column number where exactly the problem is. So here it looks something like this at that particular location. So in the screenshot, you can see it was expecting an expression out after equality operator, but it got a comma. So it is clearly telling that invalid token, comma, line 12, column 12. Similarly, for warnings as well, I'm trying to invoke a method on a component student, but the student.cfc might not be there in file system. Similarly, I'm trying to create a component in the last line, but the cfc might not be there in the file system. So in those cases, it can flag me the warning. So this is about diagnostics. So next feature is a very related feature with diagnostics only, that and the feature is called as quick fix. So we have seen that the extension has the ability to flag the warnings in my code. But this feature, quick fix, moves one step beyond that, and it tries to suggest me the ways that I can fix the problem. So in the previous example, I was trying to invoke a method on a CFC named student, but the CFC was not there in the file system. So if I click on that particular warning in line, I'll be getting a lightning bulb kind of an icon. And if I press that lightning bulb icon, I will be getting suggestions so as to what I can do. So here you can see it is suggesting me that I can create a new ColdFusion component named student. Once I accept the suggestion, it will generate a CFC for me in that particular directory structure. So without me going to the file directory, creating that file, then saving it, and then writing some code into it, it has done all those steps for me. Now, if I go back to my 1.cfm and see that warning is gone, but there is a new warning which says that the method is not there. So it has gone in that particular directory structure, scanned it, and checked that the method is not there in neither there in the CFC, or and it is not also there in the any of its parents. So that's why it is reporting that method is not there. Now, if I choose the suggestion again, then it will create a method for me inside the CFC that it generated in the previous step. So it generated CFC and then it generated the method for me. So this is how it worked in the example. Let us try to see more scenarios where it can help. So as we have seen, it can generate a CFC for me whenever I'm trying to create a CFC, and the CFC is not there. So whether I'm trying to use some create object or new operator or even trying to create the object from the CF object tag. In all of these cases, it can generate a CFC for me. Now, if I'm trying to include a CFM using CF include tag, or I'm trying to invoke I'm trying to extend a CFC, but the CFC is not there, or I'm trying to implement an interface, but the interface itself is not there. So, in those scenarios, it can generate a CFC or a CFM or a ColdFusion interface for me, and it also writes some dummy code for me. Similarly, for functions, if whether the function is in the same file or you are trying to invoke a method from a different CFC, in both cases it can generate a CFC. It can generate the function for me. So that is about quick fix. We'll move to the next feature in the bucket, which is known as hover. So this is about getting the short description about various elements in your code. So, I mean, and along with the short description, there is online document link is also provided if there is some link available, and it is supported for all four languages. So for CFML, it is able to identify various tags. So you can see in the screenshot, it was able to identify that the tag I'm using is CF function, what it is about, and plus the link of the doc as well. If I click on this particular link, it will open a browser tab for me, and I can see in much more details what the tag is about, how it is being used, and all. Similarly, for attributes as well, it can identify here that yeah, name attribute is belonging to CF function tag and what this name attribute is about. For built-in functions, it can detect all the built-in functions that are supported in ColdFusion. Along with the parameters, it provides some description and online document link as well. And it also takes care of name parameter syntax. So if you're trying to use some name parameters, then it will describe the parameters as well. Then for HTML, it can detect the common tags used within HTML like head or meta or name. So all these tags it can detect and provide you with some good document. For JavaScript, it can detect for variables. It can detect what all fields are there inside the variable. So here it was able to detect that the variable config is having three fields: core data, instrumentation key, and web analytics configuration, along with each of their types. And for JavaScript functions, it can detect the signatures of those functions. So here it was able to detect that new date is actually a constructor and it has got four overloads available. For CSS, I mean, for inline CSS, it can detect that I mean, for the common elements like color or font family, and provide you some short description about CSS. So this is about hover. Next feature in the bucket is outline. So this feature basically solves the problem of quick navigation in larger files. So when you have larger files, then it becomes slightly difficult to find the piece of code that you are interested in. So the outline view solves this issue by displaying a hierarchy of elements in the currently opened file. It is supported for all four languages, and it looks something like this. The outline view is usually at the bottom left of the view panel, and you will see a tree like a structure whenever you are have opened a document. So the tree will be including ColdFusion tags. So here you can see it is including ColdFusion tags and the functions that you might have defined, and plus it is also having HTML elements as well. And you can also customize this view by sorting on the name and category position as well. And if you check this follow cursor option, it will follow the cursor. So wherever your cursor is currently in the opened file, the corresponding part of the tree will be expanded so that it becomes easier for you to navigate. So this is about outline, and we have seen multiple features like code assist navigation. For navigation we saw this outline, then hover we also saw. So preferences are basically used in order to specify how all these features will work, and just for the sake of convenience of management and portability, we have categorized these preferences into profiles. So a profile is nothing but a collection of these preferences. So let us see them working through an example. But so there are various types of preferences like code assist formatter. For every for every feature there are preferences. So there are types of preferences as well. So in the example we can see here. So here we have a workspace open and the profile preferences is there in the bottom right. If we click on that, it opens all the preferences available in the drop down, and there is also an option to create a new profile. If I click on that, I will need to provide name and it opens a form for me. Okay, and all the values are pre-filled in this and I can make the changes as per my choices. So first tab is about editor preferences, wherein I can specify that whenever I'm creating a new CFM or a new CFC, what is the name that it should be having? What is the initial content that it should be having? So I can specify all those things here. Then the next tab is about code assist. So code assist basically I can choose what dictionary version my suggestions would follow, whether there should be filtering or not, whether I mean auto insertion related preferences are also there. Okay, I can choose and pick. Now, formatter preferences, you will see multiple subsections, and along with each of the subsection, uh, there will be just a second. Along with each of the subsection, there will be a preview section also available. Uh, Yeah, so along with each of these, the preview section is also available. And in the general, I can specify whether I want my tags to be converted to lowercase or uppercase, or I do not want any change. And similarly, for indentation, I can specify whether I want tabs or spaces to be used for indentation. Then in the white space I can specify that whether I want spaces to be added when around equality operator only or around all the operators. There are numerous settings. Then there are wrapping preferences so as to specify how many attributes maximum per line are allowed. Other than that, it will end up in the new line. Then there are braces related preferences as well. Next tab is about outline preferences, wherein I can choose whether I want all the tags in the outline view or just the selected tags only. Because if I allow all the tags, it can become too cluttered. So I can add the selected tags here. And then there are checking related preferences in order to enable or disable the features like quick fix or syntax checking. Once I submit using apply button, these preferences are saved and they will be honored throughout the workspace. And moreover, these preferences can be exported as well to a new VS Code installation. So that is about preferences, and this is the end of the current bucket. We now move to the next bucket of the features that is linked with productivity. So the first feature in the bucket is project manager, and before we actually see this project manager, let us try to answer a very important question. That is why the project manager is there, because I have seen this question on our forums. So that is why I thought we should answer that. So the project manager is, easy organization of the files. Obviously, this is the reason. But we get the easy organization of the files and directories with VS Code Explorer as well. So there are more reasons to it. So one reason is portability of the settings and all. But moreover, it is your gateway to a lot of value-added features that we provide along with this extension, like running or debugging your application, then managing your servers, and various RDS-related functionalities like security analyzer and all. So we'll see these in the later slides. So this is why we actually need project manager, and obviously the customizability as well. Now let us see how to create a project firstly. So here I am having extension installed, and the Adobe CFML extension is installed. And now I'll go to the left view panel and click on the project manager panel and see whether I can create a project. So I'm trying to create a project, but it is clearly telling me that you must open a workspace first in order to work with ColdFusion projects. So I must open a workspace first. It is not allowing me to create a project. So this is a very good thing to remember. Otherwise, people just first get frustrated. So I'll just create a workspace first. So I'll go and choose a directory inside my ColdFusion web root. So here my directory is already there, demo workspace, and then uh, it will allow. So now I'll go back to my project manager in the left panel, and now it should allow. So it's asking me to give the project name. So I'll just put my project name as project A, and then it is asking me to choose a project inside the workspace. So I'm already having this project A as the project, so I'll just choose that inside the same workspace. And once I do so, it is asking me for server. I'll give 2021 dictionary and the project is created. So if I right click on that, there are a lot of options like add it, edit, delete the server, and even if you right click, you will be getting a lot of options. So let us see those options. So some of them are related to new files. So whether you are trying to create a new ColdFusion component or interface or CFM, some of them are related to code profiler feature, and others are related to security analyzer. So we'll be seeing these in the later slides. And there is a URL prefix as well, which is used when you want to run using URL instead of directory structure. So we'll be seeing these things. So, but for now, we have created a project. But rarely do you need to create a new project. You work on a project that already has existed for long. So in those cases, uh, the extension allows you to import a project inside your VS Code environment. whether the project is created using builder or it is created using VS Code itself. In both cases, you will be able to import the project in the VS Code environment. So here I am having a project A opened, okay, inside the VS Code, and it is attached to a CF Server 2021. I will try to import a builder project. So the builder project is here, CFB project 1. It is attached with CF 2018 server, and I will try to import this project inside my VS Code. So so it is asking me to choose the workspace location. So my workspace is in 2018 server web root. So I'll just go to the 2018 server web root, choose the workspace first. Okay. So this is my workspace, CFB workspace. And now it is asking me to choose a project inside the same CFB workspace. So I will choose this CFB project 1. And here we go. The project has been imported, and not only that, the server also has been imported. So we did not need to import this server again. Just by importing the project, it was able to get the server. And working on this project is similar to what we do. I mean, we can modify any value and submit. So it is just like a normal project created using VS Code. So this is how you work on imported projects. So with that, we'll move to the next feature in the bucket, which is code refactoring. So this is a very common feature, I mean, used widely across the world by the developers. VS Code Extension offers you a good amount of refactoring techniques. The first one is about renaming a CFC or a CFM or a function or a variable. So all these things you can do rename operation. And once you try to do the rename, it will present you with a refactoring preview option wherein you will be getting to know what is the effect of your changes going to be, and you can apply or discard that effect. So that is refactoring preview. And beyond that, it allows you to search for references of a file or a variable or a function. So we'll see these features one by one. Firstly, it's about renaming a CFC or a CFM. So if you want to rename a CFC or a CFM, you just go to the project manager, right click on the file and choose the rename option in the options in the menu. So here I'm trying to rename a greetme.cfc to a new name, greetmenew.cfc. So once I try to do so, it will open a refactor preview for me. So it is clearly telling me what all places this change is going to affect. So I can choose to apply or discard any of these changes. So this is how the refactor preview works, and this is how you rename a CFC or a CFM. Renaming a function or a variable is also very much similar. I mean, you'll just go to the particular function or a variable, and then you right click and choose the rename symbol operation. Okay, so here I'll just try to rename a variable called as sum to the new name, which is number sum. So it will just ask me to choose this to enter the new name, and once I do so, I will be able to rename. Then the reference search is about getting the places where my file or function or variable is being used. So in order to search for references, I will just do the same. Go right click on that particular file or function or variable and choose find all references. So here I'm trying to find what all places my sum variable is being used. So once I try to find, it will show me the results like this. So here it can clearly tell me that some variable is being used at 4 places inside a single file. At line number 2 once, line number 5 that there are two occurrences, and 7 also once. So this is how you search for references And similarly, it can work for function or a file as well. So that is about refactoring, and we'll move to the new feature, next feature in the bucket, which is server manager. So this feature allows you to administer your servers right from your VS Code. So obviously we cannot bring the entire ColdFusion administrator right here in the VS Code, and you do not need that here. But the commonly performed operations while development, for example, starting the server or stopping the server or restarting, or when running or debugging your code. So for all those options, all those things that can be done in a comfortable fashion if you are in the same VS Code environment. And it is moreover, it is also your gateway to RDS features like security analyzer and code profiler, along with your project manager. So we'll see this also. So, but firstly, let's see how to add a ColdFusion server inside your workspace. So here I'm having a workspace and the project is there. Now I'm going to add a CF server. So in order to add, I choose this button and there is a form I need to fill. So let us fill that. Firstly, in the server name, I can put any string. So I'll just put 2020 CF 2021. Then host name is localhost. Port is 8500 for me. And then the RDS username and password I will put. And I can also test connection here itself. So the connection is successful, and in the type I need to choose whether it's local or remote. And if I choose remote, I will need to provide remote server settings, but for now we'll just choose local. Go ahead, and in the server home I need to put where my server is. So I'll just put till CFusion directory inside my ColdFusion. And in the version I need to pick and choose about 2021, and then next I need to add a URL prefix if I want to run my code using URL instead of file directory. So I'll just skip this for now. And then there are virtual host related settings as well. And if you are using remote host, but for now it's not needed. So we'll just press finish and the server would be added. So here I get the message, and I can do all the operations like launch administrator, import server, and edit server, stop, start, restart. All these operations will be available for us. So this is how we actually add the server. So once we have added it, it opens a lot of possibilities for us. As we said, we can run or debug our code, and there are a lot of more operations that we can perform. So let's see how to run a ColdFusion application using this CF server. So here I am having a workspace. Within that, a project A is there, and then index.cfm is there, is attached to a server. Now, if I want to run index.cfm, just go and right click, and I can choose run as ColdFusion application inside this menu. And if I will go and click anywhere in the file, I can do this again here from here as well. So I will just choose run as ColdFusion application, and this will open a browser tab for me and run that particular same file. So this is how we run our ColdFusion application right from VS Code. Similarly, we can debug the application as well. But in order to do so, we will be required to enable some settings inside my ColdFusion administrator. So in the security section, I'll need to enable RDS. Then in the debugging section, I need to enable this allow line debugging flag, and also one more flag, request debugging output. So once I enable these three settings inside my ColdFusion administrator, I will be able to debug my ColdFusion application. So firstly, I will need to, set some breakpoints. Then only it will be stopping. So I can just play around with the breakpoints, and it will be shown as red dots inside your code. Just need to click. You need to click just left towards the towards the line number, and then it will be shown as the red dots. And once you do so, you will be able to play around and do operations like step into, step over the code, or step return from the code. So all these operations you will be able to do. Also, you can inspect a variable for its values, and you can also put some expressions and watch the values during the course of execution of your debugging session. So all this can be made possible with debugging. And with that, we move to the next feature, that is a very powerful RDS, remote development support. So this is your gateway to a lot of features, as we have said. Okay, and in order to use this feature, you will need to enable some settings like enable RDS in the administrator. And whenever you are trying to create a server inside your VS Code, you just need to provide RDS username and password, just like we did in the earlier demo. So once you do so, you will be able to get access to all these services, file view, data view, and all. So we'll just quickly go through these services as well. So first is RDS file viewer, which is allowing you to access file inside your file system. So where your ColdFusion server is, you can get access to the entire file system. So this is how the view panel looks like. And the RDS file view, you can just open and play around. You can even edit those files and directories right from your VS Code environment. Similarly, there is a RDS data viewer section as well, which allows you to access the data sources that you would have registered inside your ColdFusion administrator. And the view looks something like this. So here you can see there are two data sources, new underscore ds and ds1 inside my ColdFusion server CF 2021. And if I want to see what all tables are there, what all views are there, I can see that using VS Code RDS data view. And if I want to run queries on this data source, I'll just need to right click on that particular data source, choose this RDS query viewer option, and type in the query and execute the results. So here in the example, I have typed in a query, select star from art, where description like something, and I pressed execute, and it returned to me all the matching records that are there in the data source CFR gallery. And the table is also, I mean, this is the matching it. So and behind the scenes, VS Code is actually acting as a client to the CF server. So it is firstly sending an RDS query to the CF server, which is the forwarding the same query to the data source CF art gallery, and it is waiting for the data source to respond. Once the data source CF card gallery responds to CF server, it will again send back to the VS Code using the same RDS. So you can run the queries, see the results right from your VS Code environment. Isn't that cool? So with this, we'll move to the next feature in the bucket that is also linked with RDS only, Security Analyzer. So as is clear by the name, it analyzes various vulnerabilities related to security in your ColdFusion applications. And along with each of the vulnerability, you will be getting a lot of details like severity, file name, file path, and a lot of other things, type of attack, line number, where exactly the problem is. And once you run your security analyzer over your project, you get the report from like this. So this is your security analyzer run. This is how it looks like. So it has all the details related to various vulnerabilities like file name, action, file path, attack name, type. And if you click on any of these particular vulnerabilities, you will be taken to that particular line number and mm, place where exactly that particular security vulnerability was found. And then you can fix that or ignore that and mark it as fixed or ignored here in these through these icons. Okay, and one interesting thing here is about the results. So the security code analyzer results can be exported to a PDF file, which is having lots of charts and graphs for you. So the reason of this is, I mean, there are two reasons. Firstly, you basically sometimes work on a project that is huge code base, and so similarly, so the vulnerabilities will also be good in number, right? So you might need to collaborate with fellow developers. So with this report, you can basically collaborate, like how many errors are fixed, how many are still there, and you get a sense of uh, collaboration is easier with these reports. And you can also export and import using the VS Code itself. So this is how you work with security analyzer. And with this, we will move to the last feature in the bucket, which is PMT code profiler integration. So the performance monitoring toolset, or PMT, is a monitoring solution that was offered along with 2018 release for free. A lot of things can be said about this PMT, but for now we'll just say that it has got the ability to profile your code and present you with the slower portions of your CFML application. So with VS Code extension, you will be able to profile your code inside your dashboard, then export the data from dashboard and import it here in the VS Code using the profiler view. So in order to import the data, you will just need to right click on the project and choose this import code profiler data option, and select that particular piece of wherever your exported data. There will be a JSON that was exported using PMT dashboard, and you will just need to select that, get this JSON here, and then you will be able to improve the code performance at granular levels by going to that particular piece of code which is slow in operation. So this is about code profiler, and with this we come towards the end of the presentation. I'll be more than happy to take questions. Thanks for being such a lovely audience, and you have been so much attentive. I am now open to questions. I'll just see what else. I hope you guys liked it. Well, a cheat sheet. I mean, we have already shared some cool slides deck. There is a guy who is asking for cheat sheet for the information. We have this slides deck already available, so we can share the link later as well. Yeah, security analyzer does help with whether if there is some plain text and passwords, and also it will flag when, I mean, there are a lot of things. I mean, XSS attack, and a lot of attacks are there. So it does help with encryption as well if you have left the plain strings. Okay, so here is a complaint. I mean, we can see that uh, as well. I mean, you are saying that inside your component, the outline is not listing the CF function node. So we'll see that. We'll fix it if it is not there. Yeah, I mean, plain strings. If you have, let's say, you are using some password and all, and if you are not encoded, you are just using plain strings. So then, in those cases, it will flag that, yeah, the password should not be used in the form. as a plain string. You should encode it. Yeah, it is live. I mean, the builder extension is already having some 2,500 downloads, so it is live. You can go ahead in the marketplace and you can download it. And it is for free. Uh, no one is charging you for this. No symbols found in document CFC. Well, Apurva is the right person to answer this. I hope this section is being recorded. And I mean, there is a Dev Week session also there on YouTube. Uh, I mean, that is not complete session. I mean, there was some problem with the recording, but still it has got good amount of information. Some 40 or 50-minute session is there uh, for the Dev Week on Adobe ColdFusion YouTube channel. And probably most, I think this session should also have recording, I guess. Yeah, yeah, right. I think Charlie is right. You have to open the document, then only you will be seeing. And if it is not there, you should be logging a bug with us. We'll fix it definitely. Open related files, and which allows right click on a relative path in a tag to open the file. No, not like that. I mean, it is about having uh, quick navigation. So it is like an index of a page. So it's like so you once you wanna open a particular page inside a dictionary, you just go to the index and see what page number it is. So it is like moving to your piece of code quickly. So I mean, you just you better to from scrolling entire 1,000 line page. This it is easier to scroll a smaller tree, right? Yeah, thanks, Alison. I think I would be very happy if I was able to help any of you guys. Error running. Okay, there is a CFL server create command. Okay, extension. We will be fixing and we'll be updating this extension regularly. We'll be syncing the parser as well. Whenever I mean, even in the alpha, we are trying to bring alpha. We have brought on. We are trying to build get all the features here in the VS Code itself for the alpha. Whatever changes are required. Yeah, yeah. Dreamweaver has been there for long. Now it's time. I mean, VS Code is like that. You can just try out if it helps. I'm sure you will like it. It is a very lightweight experience. Recommended Java version, I think it is 1.8 or above. You can use any version. One, I mean, 8 or 11, anything is fine. And if any problems you encounter, you can directly reach out to our support, or you can file the bug. We will take care of. If you are, if it is a genuine problem, we'll fix it. Otherwise, we will suggest the way. You have a can code analyzer. Check in and check out with the Dreamweaver. What are the options built into VS Code and we use, I think, we use both. I think it depends actually. For FTP is the right way. I think mostly we use FTP only. SFTP, I'm not sure, but yeah, for HTTPS we use HTTP. I mean, for server connection we use both HTTP and HTTPS. But for FTP file transfer, I think FTP is the only way. Yeah, right. Charlie is very right in this. It must be a CF project. It must be created, connected to a server. Yeah, so all these things must be there. Then only all the RDS features will work. Java version, I think so. It should be good with both OpenJDK as well. Java Oracle Java is good enough, Chris. CF will soon work with Java 17 as well. But yeah, not the current release. Yeah, but for now, CF supports only 11. I just hope the presentation was clear and you got what I was trying to communicate. Yeah, you can write directly to support, or you can just give your feedback through bugs as well. We will be loving to have the bugs coming and try to fix them, and it will always be supported by Adobe. Yeah, right. Tracker.adobe.com. That is the right place. And CF support email ID should also be good enough to reach out. And because sometimes it's just a usability issue, it's not actual bug. Yeah, that is the sole purpose of recording. Thanks, Charlie. I mean, you have been really interactive in the chat box. I had a good interaction with you at the summit as well, but even in the chat box, you're very much interactive. Really appreciate that. Yeah, it was fun. Vegas is always to meet the customers, to meet the partners. It was always energizing. Yeah. I mean, ColdFusion Builder, we are stopping to release newer versions. I mean, we have just focused on this now because we saw that a lot of customers are already shifted their development to VS Code. They were liking it. So we thought we should also come to this platform. It is super extensible and lightweight. That is why it is gaining so much popularity these days. Right. But I think this should the confusion should not. It's not a stopper. I think people are downloading it though. I mean, downloading it in a huge numbers. We are seeing good numbers already. So people are liking it. I mean, the initial impression, at least I see. Yeah, Git would be helpful for you. I think Git can be integrated easily with VS Code as well. So we had a backward. I mean, at least the builder projects can be bring right here. But Dreamweaver projects no. Yeah, right. VS Code has good integration with Git. It is already have a good integration with lot of things. So you naturally get all these things when you come to VS Code. And we will basically ensure that whatever new is there in ColdFusion also comes to VS Code extension. Yeah, exactly. Charlie's right. I mean, it's loving. It's so lovable. The passion of the community. Uh, I really like it. It's so energizing. Lot of questions even after we have finished the session 20 minutes back.